Well, all righty, let's go ahead and get started. This is Open Line Friday, yet another week of hanging out with me and some great guests. I want to let everybody know before we start for Open Line Friday that we are recording this. My name is Josh Benoit. I'm on the marketing team for EPLAN USA. A new webcast. This is our fourth week now. Open Line Friday. We have experts that join us every single week, and you ask us questions. So you can start doing that in the chat if you want to right now. We find out a little bit about the people that work here at EPLAN because we have some fantastic employees here that I've been with EPLAN for about 4 months now. And that's one of the things I found out whenever I first started working here is that everybody's really fantastic and they have great stories. And the reason that they're with EPLAN is all different, but they love what they do. And so I really wanted to expose that and also give you a chance to ask questions, whether you're a veteran with EPLAN or maybe you've never even used it before. This is really your chance to ask them things that you want to know. Nothing over the top technical because we're not at a point where we're showing how to do things. Those are more catered towards what we do on a monthly basis with our other webcasts. But what we want to do is maybe answer some question that you had during the week, like, I want to work around for this, or I've always been wondering about this. So that being the case, again, leave those questions in the chat and let's go ahead and talk to our experts for this week. We have a little technical issue with Sergio right now. His webcam isn't working. I mean, we're just a high-tech software company. That's it, Sergio. I mean,
you know, it's the little things that, test me the most.
So Sergio is our solutions advisor, and we got Ian Underhill, who is our application engineer. Both have been working with EPLAN far longer than I have. So happy Friday, boys.
Hey, Josh. Happy Friday.
Hey, Josh. Happy Friday. Thanks for having us.
I will say that I've only met Ian recently, but whenever my second day with EPLAN, whenever I was in Schaumburg, that Sergio was part of the welcoming crew. And we went to a nice little place called the Bulldog in Schaumburg and got to know each other while watching sports and having some wings. So Sergio is one of my best friends of all time now with EPLAN in this 4 short months. And you're from Illinois. Like, are you from Schaumburg, actually from Schaumburg or Chicago?
No. So I grew up in Arlington Heights, Illinois. It's just about 10 minutes away from Schaumburg. Small little town over there.
All right. And you went to Roosevelt University. Where is that?
Oh, that's in Chicago.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've been with EPLAN for 3.5 years. And as I said, whenever we talk about our hobbies, our number one hobby for all of us is definitely working with EPLAN. But sports is part of that, traveling, cars. Tell me about your hobby, your car hobby. Is it that you collect cars or you work on cars?
So yeah, I really like cars in general. Since I was a kid, always been fascinated by them. Mostly specs, top speed, things of that nature. Formula One cars. For instance, I see in Ian's background over there, he has all the tracks, which is really nice. And yeah, it's just kind of grown into a fascination between anything really, from sports cars to supercars to exotic cars to even trucks and some of the older cars as well.
Ian, I had no idea that those were tracks. I didn't know that. I'm glad you pointed that out, Sergio.
Yeah.
That tells you how much I know about I know that I used to drive an old, what we called the grocery getter. Remember those old wood panel station wagons back in the 80s? That was my first car. And it was fantastic because I could fit 16 friends in it and we can go anywhere we wanted. So it was really great. Ian, you're not a fan of that? Come on, man. All right, let's meet Ian Underhill from England. I don't know. I couldn't tell whenever you were talking to me.
You didn't notice, no?
You've been with EPLAN for 4.5 years, about a year longer than Sergio. So I'm guessing that you guys have been best friends for a little while.
Yeah, I knew Sergio before he joined the team, as it were. So yeah, we've been. Fortunately, we don't get to hang out much at the moment with the pandemic, but hopefully that's going to change this year. It's I think things are getting better, so hopefully we'll get a visit over to Schaumburg to hang out again.
And you're into motorcycling, golf, home and auto do it yourself. Nobody likes home do it yourself projects, do they? They just like to watch
I
them
do
on
when I
TV.
start. It's when I get stuck halfway through them, and you know, it's as with any, whether it's auto or home, the simplest task. You think, oh, I'm just going to do that, be fine. Take me 10, 15 minutes. It always takes a turn for the worst. You uncover, you know, every time you touch one thing, you uncover something else you've got to fix. I'm currently putting new floor in my kitchen and dining room, like a laminate flooring, and it's everything I touch that I find there's a problem, so I need to fix that before. So it's been going on for about a month now.
At what point are you just going to sell your house and buy another one? So that you don't.
Yeah. But well, actually, part of the reason of doing it is to sell my house. It's the family home, and there's only me in there now. All my children have grown up and moved out quite a long time ago. I mean, my youngest is 30 this year, so
Wow.
so
Now-
yeah, so it's a big house for me. You know, it's too much lawn to take care of, just too much. So part of the reason for doing it is to ready it for sale, so I can downsize.
Is it true that this picture, this profile picture of you that's in the PowerPoint was taken whenever your child was still in high school?
No, actually, that was taken actually in Chicago. We had one of the annual meetings we used to have. So around
Was that the
end of year,
December one?
Christmas time, yeah, and they did photographs for us all. So not all that long ago.
Wow.
This COVID's been really bad for my head. That's all.
You haven't found since COVID, you haven't found a place to go get your haircut. I get it. I
No.
understand. I understand.
I'm not allowed out the house, so
Well, it's funny. We were talking about, and we'll talk about EPLAN in just a second, but we were talking about music because you're a big music aficionado, and we'll get into that again in just a few minutes. But you sure do love you some music, dude. You sent me a great clip of this guy analyzing Stevie Wonder. That was fantastic. So is that, you don't have that as a hobby, but I have to guess.
yeah, it's just it's a passion, I guess, more than a hobby. I mean, if I actually played anymore, I did when I was a kid. I played piano when I was a kid, but girls and bikes, motorbikes, sort of came along, and the practicing classical piano went by the wayside. Unfortunately, I have to admit that's one of few regrets. Actually, I should have kept that up. But it's a passion. I just love listening to music. So and knowing more about it. So drives my girlfriend mad because every time there's something on the radio, you know, I'll say, "Oh yeah, we lost Taylor Hawkins the other day," and she's quite a fan of Alanis Morissette, and that's where he got his break in some respects. Right. He was touring as a drummer for Alanis Morissette when he got introduced to the Foos. So yeah, so I pop up little bits of information like that, and she's like, I don't need to know. I just like the song.
I have a great story offline. I don't want to bore everybody. I got a great story offline for you after a while about driving Taylor Hawkins around Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy, I mean, I obviously never met him, but such a passion for life and music and that. Everybody that has mentioned anything about him, you know, everybody loved him for the passion, and a great drummer as well. So I'm sad.
Hey, Sergio, you're an account manager with EPLAN, and I know that for we've had account managers on. We have Alessandro on, Roger's been on with us, and Sean has been on with us. But that's not all you do. You actually are in the education side of what EPLAN does. Whenever I first came on, I didn't really understand what that meant until talking to you at the Bulldog that one night about what the education of EPLAN in the States and really globally means. So tell us a little bit about that, what you do with education.
Yeah, so a little bit about EPLAN education. So what we aim to achieve here in the US, since it's already kind of established program globally. Um, the goal to kind of achieve here in the U.S. is to approach technical colleges and universities and meet with the professors, administrative deans, and introduce EPLAN as a software solution for them. As you know, AutoCAD in the US is a very common tool, but doesn't really specifically um, doesn't specifically, let's say, tailored to the industrial or manufacturing industry, right? It's more of an architectural tool versus a computer-aided engineering tool. Um, so one of the nice things is that, you know, we have a great team from Mato Mari, Desiree Fuse in Germany, and Dr. Dushka Lukik, who is the professor of Cologne in Germany, who has assisted us with implementing the program here. You know, we put together a great team and still working on a solution on how to approach and get the outreach a little bit further here in the US. But yeah, all in all, we put together a great program. There's great curriculum already provided from our German counterpart. And we also have handbooks for both the students and the instructors. And yeah, I mean, really the main goal is also to provide students with a special skill set that would allow them to differentiate themselves when entering the workforce as well.
Fantastic. So
Mhm.
again, if anybody's having trouble, I just got a message. I don't know if the camera is coming through. Ian, can you see us? Oh, well, we can't see Sergio, but can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you, obviously
Okay.
Sergio, but
Yeah.
apparently no one else can see us for some reason.
Okay.
And that's what yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, they said that you can't see it. Let me change a setting real quick. While I'm doing that, well, there went Ian. I can't see Ian now. So
Am I not back again now?
you know, every week it's been something weird that that happens on this thing because WebEx, I don't think WebEx likes me. And so I'm gonna try this. Give me a second.
Do
And
you
then I'll
have
do
a
this again.
mirroring, like I think there was an option there with the video for mirroring.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
You
I see
see
it.
that? You know what I did?
What's
So
that?
we'll ask Paul. Paul, can you see us now? Now it works.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I did? And I'm not going to lie to you. This is exactly what I did. I turned it off and I turned it back on. Just like any
That's it.
engineer or
We're
any
good at that in
IT
technical
person
support.
would
We
tell
can
you to
do
do.
that.
I'm not lying. I went in and I
Oh,
turned.
I'm upside down.
What the heck is going on with you?
So yeah, I turned it off and I turned it back on, and now it's working. Look, technology, right? We're just a software technology company. That's it.
We
So
don't do hardware, that's for sure.
Paul said that that he still doesn't see us, but I think Paul's eyes are closed. He's typing with his eyes closed, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Jonna just said she sees me and you, Josh, but not Sergio. But
All
that's
right.
not, I don't see Sergio. He's disappeared again. He was
Okay, so while Sergio's
I'm fixing
disappeared,
I'm fixing my rotation
Prob-
here. I don't know why
he
it had
probably
me
fell off
upside
the
down.
ceiling.
you know, the thing is that people don't understand that Sergio is in Australia right now.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we're having with his. Hey, Ian, you've been working on a project that's a little bit more unconventional that you've been doing for a little while now. And sometimes companies are at a point where time and bandwidth, they aren't available and they need a team like ours to take over. So can you tell us, without telling us a ton about the project you're working on, tell us more about what you're doing?
Well, actually, I've been doing a couple of projects. One specifically for, oh, no, he's on his side. Was he? Oh, there you go. Yeah, one specifically for a company that make load banks. So it's a load bank is something used for stress testing generator sets, for example. So if you're in a hospital or a computer installation, you might have a backup generator and you have to stress test the backup generator. So it's a box full of resistors and control gear to turn the resistors on and off to work the net. But this company needed to get up to speed in a hurry, and obviously they've got guys going through training at the moment, actually. But to get their first project out the door, there was no way that they were going to start with just training and then going through the normal steps we would. So myself and Chris Saldrick, who's in California, EPLAN consultant, same as me, we've been working on doing this project for them. So it's they've got the schematics, so we have to replicate the schematics from whatever system they use, probably AutoCAD, I believe it was before, then into EPLAN, and then do the 3D design. So a lot of work finding components, finding the 3D models of the components, and then putting it together. So a good project. It was, I mean, good in part because I got to work with Chris again. Really a great resource for us. So, but yeah, we don't do too many of those, but if companies need to start, yeah, we do offer those services, obviously. But that's the one project. But I've also been working on a project. It's called the EPLAN Engineering Standard, and that's available. The actual results of my work and the team's work. So there's an EPLAN Engineering Standards team, which I'm part of. It's a global team, so the lead is a guy called Mohammed, who's in Germany. Excuse me. We've got Dieter in Belgium that's working on it. Tom Wolf is a lead team. And myself over here. Excuse me. And the idea is we've produced some standards to help you get going. So they've produced the IEC standards. I've produced some NFPA style standards, and we invented a piece of material handling equipment, a stacker. So it was only in our heads, and then designed the circuits to drive that, and then documented those circuits in NFPA, in my case, and IEC in their case. Created all the parts that were necessary. Some obviously we can download from the data portal, but we picked some parts that weren't on the data portal, and we've then created all this data that the customer can download. It's part of what we call a customer-centric platform. So if you log on to your eCloud, if you log in with your organization, if you've got an organization and a user ID, you can log in and you can go and find the data. So the idea being that it's a quick start. It won't provide exactly what you're going to use, but you can use it as a reference. We provide a template. So the basic project, that if you started a new project, you have, so you've got plot frames that work, and you obviously can pick the NFPA version I've selected or the IEC version my colleagues in Germany have created. And then loads of different parts of the circuit. So there's a macro you can quickly insert to put the power supply in, or the main disconnect, or the motors that are controlled, whether they be direct online or with a BFD. You can drag these pieces of circuits in. All the parts that we've used are available in both formats, the same parts. So we've used the same parts both in the IEC and the NFPA world. So also, if you're new to IEC, you could take a look at both projects side by side and see the relationship, see how you would structure a project, our base project, as you would here in the States, but also as you would the IEC. So it's designed to give people an idea. And going forward, at the moment, this is just a material handling project, but we will be adding sort of sample projects. They're made up projects for sure, but sample projects for the other sort of industries, whether it be building management, oil and gas, you know, all those process industry type standards. So if you're in that industry, you can download something and just have an idea where to start.
Well, that's interesting you say that, building management. How do you affect that?
So a lot of people, we haven't got anything yet, and it's not my area of expertise. I'm more automation and process. But people that are architects designing the building, they need someone to design the controls for the building. And yes, it's more simple controls. It's lights but there's elevators, all sorts of things like that. The air conditioning systems, all that power and the control has to be documented. Can do that with EPLAN. We've got special modules that typically use the pre-planning module. That's the type of work, but yeah, there's EPLAN's perfectly capable of doing that because it's just controls at the end. Yes, it's controlling a light and an air conditioner, not a motor or a robot, but it's still controls.
Hey, Sergio, in talking about the account manager side of things, and we had this conversation for a while this week, onboarding. It's kind of, for everybody, it's different. For every company, it's different. But whenever you onboard a new company that comes in that either has heard about EPLAN, maybe worked with it a little bit, or somebody that's never worked with it before, what's the most common question that you get? And by the way, let me tell you, you can leave your questions in the chat or you can leave them in Q&A. But for you, Sergio, what's a common question that you get from a client?
So it varies. A lot of it can come from either, I would say one of the more common ones recently that we've had is, how do I convert old legacy projects from AutoCAD, and how do I convert them into EPLAN? I know that that's kind of been more of a common question lately, but it varies. It could be anything from onboarding time. What does the ramp up phase look like? Road mapping, those types of questions, to like I said, what is the capabilities of extracting old projects into EPLAN, which we do have a solution. I think that we are working towards a better solution right now at EPLAN, but all in all, it is fully capable. And when it comes to road mapping, it's really about learning the customer's process. Every customer is different, so it varies in how much, let's say, the onboarding process would take. So a company can be semi-automated or fully manual, to more well-developed, more automated process, which would kind of reduce some of that ramp-up time in general. Yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, Ian? Do you ever get questions whenever, because it's a hand-in-hand thing. Whenever you're with an account manager, it's a handoff, but you're both working together in the beginning. So what's it like from your side of things?
It's sort of what Sergio said. Typically, I'm going to interface more with the engineers, the technical team, rather than maybe the lead engineer or the director that's putting the money up to purchase EPLAN. So typically the questions you get from a more technical perspective. So as Sergio said, what do I do with my legacy projects? How do I deal with those? Excuse me. But most often, how do I get more people? How fast I'm going to be able to get to produce my first project? And some of those are very difficult to answer, particularly how fast, how quick can I get up to speed to do my first project. Very dependent on the guys that are working there. If someone is staunch AutoCAD and they don't particularly want to change, they're not necessarily going to pick it up as quickly as someone that is really excited by the whole prospect. It's not. Sometimes it's age dependent, but generally it's just the enthusiasm. The guys that are and girls that are really see the value in EPLAN, they tend to work hard to pick it up and run with it. But that's what we as a team are here to help you. That's why we try and sell the sort of consultant services that go along, because it's, as with anything, it's a tool. You went down to Haas and bought a very expensive CNC machine. You wouldn't expect just to read the manual and start producing parts straight away. you have to learn how to use it, like any tool, and it's a complex tool as well. So just
And
as they would offer training, we would do the same, but we also offer the consulting, so we can help you with that first project, whether it's just to get you going, help you with plot frames and reports and just general settings about how your device will be named, right up to, as I've done with that little project I was talking, the first one for that company, we've done basically the whole project. So just to give them some breathing room to be able to get up to speed, and something they can look back at, and they can look at how, sort of almost reverse engineer it. They can look at how we've done something to have an idea how to move forward to do what they're doing. But it's always, it's a partnership. You can't sell the company a service or a piece of software. It's got to be a partnership. You know, just, here it is, take the check and walk away. That's not how it works.
No, and I think Ian also touched on it a little bit in terms of finding the mindset, right? Finding that one champion that has the correct mindset, that really wants to drive EPLAN. That makes a world of difference when doing the onboarding process and really getting started. Also, is there are certain people that I can think of, several companies specifically that where one person completely changed that whole aspect of everything. That one mindset, really help us champion internally, right? So they helped out on the engineering front, they helped out on the mechanical front, from the management perspective. They really put together their time and effort to make sure that they are really making, the effort to make sure that this software is working internally, right? So that's where my responsibility and even Ian's responsibility kind of comes in, where we try to assist as best as possible. So whatever it may be, from consulting to calls, from technical support, we want to make sure that we're providing as much service as possible to make sure that that onboarding process in that first project even is as successful as it can be, because that's going to make the huge world of difference internally for him, not only from us, but for the customer as well.
I think it's difficult because whenever you have a computer you've been using for 3 years, maybe 5 years, and you know everything about that computer, you use it certain ways, it's got all of your own settings in there, and then you buy a new computer. It's not just plug and play, and it's very difficult in the beginning until you figure, oh, I can do what I did before. I just have to reset that up. But there's so many times that you hear, well, this is how we've always done it. And that mindset, both of you know this, that mindset sometimes really sets in, and it becomes an issue, because just because that's the way that we've always done things doesn't mean that's the most efficient way to do those things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look at
typically, if you're looking
methods.
at EPLAN, you recognize the fact that you do need to get better at what you're doing engineering wise, and be more efficient, because efficiency is about times money. And in this environment, you've got to be more efficient, you've got to be faster, whether it's to market or just to produce the work, because you've got less people to do it, so you've got to be faster at it on an individual basis. So you've got to let go. You're right, sometimes, we've always done it this way. That's the hardest, or the first thing we've got to get past. There's lots of things that we've always done. We always used to go from one town to the next on horseback, but no one would do it now, because we know that's just not the fastest way to get there. It's too far.
Well, in Houston, in Houston, sometimes.
Or
Sometimes they
wrong
do.
analogy.
even like a seatbelt method, right? When we were younger, the old method used to be just put your hand across and kind of pray that nothing happens, compared to now you have seatbelts, right? You have this kind of
airbags, ABS.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, you can be stuck in your same ways, but yeah, there is a better solution out there, to say the least. Yeah.
Especially now when we talk about this day, post-COVID. Not that we're even post-COVID, because we're still figuring out things within a COVID world. And the labor shortage is a real thing for a lot of these companies. And the efficiency that EPLAN comes in and brings with them, or brings with the software and the solutions that we have on hand, that's a real eye opener once companies understand what we're able to do. And so kind of talk about that. What are those efficiencies whenever you have a labor shortage?
It's just doing it the old way. Typically people would do a lot of cutting and pasting, pick an old project that's similar and just redo it and maybe change a few things. And the biggest problem is you can end up just duplicating mistake after mistake after mistake. If the old project wasn't updated, there was an error that didn't get translated back, you keep propagating that same error, which is obviously inefficient. But we try to work from templates, so you put much of your engineering work into templates, whether it's the actual basic project that sets up how the structure of the project is, how things are numbered, to circuits that are pre-built, and so you can check the engineering. If you find an error, you can fix it in the macro that we create, and then so that error's gone. You're not relying on when someone places it, to remember to go and change all the things, as if you would with the old traditional method of copying something from one page to the next. We can insert it and it does all the changes for you. For example, got the motor circuits I mentioned in that EPLAN engineering standard project. It's set up so that when you place the motor circuit, it's a direct online or a reversing motor starter, it asks you what the motor horsepower is. And you pick the motor horsepower and it picks the appropriate motor part, the appropriate fuse, whether it's an overload or a motor circuit protector, with the right setting that goes with that, and sets the appropriate wire size in. So once you've tested it all, you've made sure it's good, you don't get an error. You don't get someone, we need to change the wire size, or we change the motor size. You know, the mechanical guys have said, we don't need a 10 horse, we can get away with a 5 horse motor. So the guy goes in, he changes the one part of the motor, but forgets to change the size of the wires maybe, or of the 6 wires, he only changes 5 of them because he gets interrupted in the middle of it. Or he forgets to change the part number for the motor circuit protector. So when you purchase it, it's oversized. So the motor locks up and it doesn't trip until too late. So things like that, or the reverse. You go with a bigger motor and you forget to upgrade the motor circuit protector, and it keeps tripping when you're trying to commission it. So it takes you a while to work out what's going on, and then you've got to order a replacement part, which at the moment lead times for everything are through the roof. So, you know, having to wait 3 weeks for a project that you're commissioning that the customer wants by the end of the week, just because you made a simple mistake of a part, you can't afford those. You can't afford the inefficiency of that. And by encapsulating that engineering expertise within the macro, when you change the motor, it automatically updates the wire size. It automatically picks the appropriate motor circuit protector. So you can't make a mistake. And if you find a mistake, the wrong part was picked, you fix it once, and then every time someone uses it, it's correct now. So it gets better and better as the more data you put to it, rather than potentially going back to pick an old project where someone forgot to update it, where you first identified the problem, and you just reintroduce it again. You know, it's all about doing it right first time.
I usually don't worry about that because, say that again?
Rework is expensive.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't worry about doing it right the first time. I like to make those mistakes and learn from those mistakes live on our webcast every week, which is how it's gone so far today for us. So, but that's okay. That's okay.
it's never a dull moment.
Yeah, I don't think our boss is watching today, so we're good. Again, if you have a question you want to leave in the chat, you can do that. Learning more about everyone that works at EPLAN, I think is one of those the most important things that we could do, because we
forgot I
find
answered
out we find out a lot about each other in this process too. There's some great personalities that I work with on a daily basis. Sergio, your first job ever, you worked for your dad until high school, and then you sold some cell phones at Nextel. Nextel, is that Sprint now,
That is Sprint now.
which is
That,
now T-Mobile?
I mean, I'm telling you, yeah, that was an interesting job. So just thinking
I used
about
to
that,
hate those Nextel phones.
it was
If you work for GM, you had to have a Nextel phone because they all used them, and they're like a walkie-talkie, and you just
it was
couldn't get
atrocious
away
trying
from
to
the
get a hold of
things.
anyone. It was just the worst. And they had
Ah,
this kind of automated and I'm not going to talk bad about Nextel, but yeah, I just remember
they're
that
gone.
they had they had they had this automated kind of hold where if someone didn't have reception, it was always please hold while the Nextel subscriber you're trying to reach is located, and it would just take forever. But yeah, that was one of my first few jobs early on. And then yeah, I worked with my father for quite a bit. So he and his brothers are restaurateurs, believe it or not. So
And started here in Houston and then went up to Chicago, right?
yeah, so my father lived in Houston for quite some time. He was working for a company at that time called Nick's Fish Market. And then in 1984, made the migration up to Chicago with my mother, and the rest was history at that point. You know, he and his brother started a couple of restaurants, and yeah, since then they've still been going at it very strong, even throughout the pandemic. So, you know, hats off to
With
them.
the best black pasta I've ever had in my life. It's amazing. Favorite sports teams, no surprise here. I mean,
Yeah.
every Chicago sports
I,
team. Is this
I
in
thought
order
if
for
you're
you?
into the sports, how come you like the Bears?
Yeah.
Oh, you just
It's just it's built-in misery at this point.
hey, I'm from Detroit. What can I tell you?
I was about to say, yeah, Detroit knows the pain very well.
Yep.
So a celebrity you would like to meet would be I thought at first you put Jimmy Buffett,
That
but you put
also would
Warren
be
Buffett.
equally as entertaining, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, I mean it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Absolutely. I like Jimmy Buffett, but I think that Warren Buffett might give a little bit better pointers.
Hopefully, right? Yeah.
And then something people don't know about you, you're left-handed.
Yeah.
Is that Let me ask you this. Do you feel like there's a that there's a right-handed bias in this world?
Uh, do I felt it. Yeah. So I would say that most things are usually tailored for a right-handed person, but I don't think I've ever let that really stop me in any way, shape, or form. Um, just only when I take notes. That's always been the burden, right? You always get the ink on the edge of your hand.
You could have been a pitcher for the Cubs. If you would have worked hard growing up, you could have been a pitcher for the Cubs.
At this rate, the way that they're tanking the team, I can still be a pitcher for the Cubs. It's okay.
Look, I understand. I'm a Saints fan. I know about tanking teams and how bad they can be. I
Hey,
get it.
you know, they pay
Ian,
to win.
your first job was as an apprentice for GE.
Yep. Yeah, I was. In the UK, you finish school if you want to. You can finish school at 16. So you do what's called GSEs. It used to be O levels, ordinary level, in like 7 or 8 different subjects, and then you either go on to go to university, go to like 2 years of I guess we call it college or high school. It's different. You only study like 2 or 3 subjects, and that's the lead in to go to university. Or you leave at 16 and you go to work. So that's what I did. I was an apprentice at GE, which became part of the Alstom group. We used to build massive VFDs, so variable frequency drives, not sort of kilowatt rated. We're talking megawatt rated to drive the sort of motors that do steel mills, and did propulsion control systems for the VFDs for QE2. Queen Elizabeth II, the Royal Yacht, and I did them for a frigate, a Royal Navy frigate, and a submarine as well, amongst other things. So yeah, it was a good start. You got to learn everything. The first year I spent in a training school, going to college for 8 weeks, and then spending 6 weeks learning how to use a lathe or a milling machine, learning how to weld, wiring control panels. So I've got a good actual foundation of being able to do the things that I'm telling other people how to do. It was cool.
Favorite sports team, Williams F1. That's a lot of people that work within EPLAN are big F1 fans. And that's something that Sergio can probably attest to. We weren't really exposed to, or I wasn't exposed to growing up. So
Formula One wasn't. I would say more Indy racing and NASCAR was very common in the US, but Formula One is an incredible sport and it's gained so much popularity.
It's like a lot of things global. I mean, like soccer, or what you call soccer, I call football, isn't it isn't that big in the States, but for the rest of the world, it's massive. It's and yet the sports like NASCAR isn't big around the world, whereas other forms of racing are. So
or even rugby, for instance, right?
Yeah, I lived in the town of Rugby, where the game came from. Yeah, before I came to the States. So yeah, it's Williams or Formula One generally. I love the technology. I've been a fan since I was a kid. Actually watched live that it was immortalized in the film Rush.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So I remember as a child watching that live on the TV in a black and white TV back in the day, and I've been a fan ever since. And Williams is a team. They were back in the day. They were really, really successful. Well, one of the more successful teams, the privately owned team. Guy that founded Williams actually died 6 months ago. It's now been bought out by an investment firm. But was a world champion for years and years and years.
Are they going to keep the name Williams?
Yes, that was part of the deal. It's
a legacy thing.
It's a legacy thing, yeah.
Celebrity, go ahead.
I was going to say, Ian, what's your favorite team then in Formula One racing? Just are you a big Red Bull, Mercedes?
I mean, I'm a fan of loads of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, McLaren, again, a historic team. Never been particularly a Ferrari fan, but I'm a fan of their current drivers. Mainly English. I mean, one of the reasons it's so big is because out of the 10 teams that are running, 8 of them are based in the UK. And even the ones that aren't based in the UK have offices in the UK because that's where a lot of the expertise is. For racing globally, a lot of the back when Mercedes was in IndyCar, the engines were built by a company called Ilmor, and that was in Northampton in the UK. The chassis at the moment are done by Dallara, and actually Dallara is an Italian company. But the iconic Ford GT and the original Ford GT40, their chassis development and designs were done in the UK.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, the racing industry in the UK is absolutely massive in terms of its the money it puts towards the GDP of the UK. It's for such a comparatively niche thing. It's huge.
Yeah.
Can
you tell me who Daniel Ricciardo is?
He's a racing Formula One driver. He's an Australian Formula One driver, surprisingly enough.
Whoa, we're crossing barriers here.
Yeah, but he drives for the McLaren team at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a bit like Taylor Hawkins, the sort of guy. Every time you see him, he's smiling. He just loves life. Just is a real character. He's renowned for just being always being up and fun and happy and yeah, it seemed like he'd be a good guy to hang around. Just he'd be cool, just a cool dude, you know.
Speaking of drumming, drumming, your closet drummer, it says.
Yes, yeah. My dad was a semi-professional drummer, and he's long retired, and he's in his 80s now, and he had to stop because he couldn't sit on the seat anymore. His back was too messed up. A bit like Phil Collins, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
so we talked about Phil Collins, and let me get your opinion on these overrated or underrated bands that are from the UK. Genesis.
a brilliant band, yeah. Particularly
Okay.
the older stuff, yeah.
The Who.
Uh a great band, but not. I mean, I loved.
What? I'm waiting for you to call them overrated.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not overrated. I mean, because they're iconic and they're groundbreaking. Some of the stuff that they did, but yeah,
Uh,
not one that of my favorites. But yeah, great band.
Queen.
Yeah, massive fan of Queen when I was growing up. You know, the Freddie Mercury's performance at Live Aid. I remember watching that.
And last one, Spinal Tap.
Yeah, yeah. I know them, but again, not a big favorite.
Okay. All right. Do you know that they're doing a Spinal Tap too?
I heard
No.
that. Yes, yes.
Are they
Yes.
really?
Yeah. I mean, this many years later, they're doing a Spinal Tap too. I don't know if I don't know if people really care at
revisiting.
this point.
Do, my question is, do people really know the truth behind Spinal Tap?
I probably don't. I'll be honest. I do. I love the movie though. I thought it was great. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's get back to some EPLAN. And again, if you have any questions, you can let us know. So, Ian, there was something that we talked about with Paul last week that is an important point to relay to those people that don't understand that whenever you submit a support ticket, a lot of times that comes in the email form, or you're calling your account manager, or you're calling the professional services team. But it's really a whole lot simpler than that, and you get more of an immediate um, uh, somebody talking to you more immediately if you go around it the, I guess you could say, correct way. And you made a video on that.
Yes, I did. Actually, Paul's got it and he's posted on YouTube. I don't have a YouTube link for it, but we have a hotline. There's a support line you can call. We also have an email address. You can send a question on email, but the best way to get the fastest response is to actually create a ticket. And you can do that from within the EPLAN Support Center account, or you can do it directly from within EPLAN. Once you've set your EPLAN up and you put your name and your password in the EPLAN settings, you can actually create the ticket from within EPLAN. And that's the best way to do, because it goes straight to the ticket. We instantly have all the information that we need to be able to process that ticket. Things like your company's ID. So every company has a unique ID, and then obviously the license you're using, the dongle number or the serial number, whatever you want to call it. We get to know that, and that's important for getting support, because you only get support if you're, well, we don't only get support if you pay for it, but part of the SMA agreement you pay, or the subscription you're in, covers the cost of the support. So obviously if you're a customer that doesn't done SMA, we might help you a little bit, but we can't keep helping you, because our priority has obviously got to be the customers that are paying for that service. So we need to know that information before we can process the ticket. By doing it from within EPLAN, that data is passed over automatically. You don't have to go and find the information. It just comes there automatically. It also will send some information about your system. So what version of EPLAN and what build you're running. So we can tell, you know, is there a new hot fix that might resolve your problem, for example, and little bits of information about the operating system. You know, is it Windows 10 predominantly, but what version of Windows 10? And a little bit of information about your computer in that respect. So again, useful information that can help us address the ticket. Sometimes you can see someone's having a problem and they're running, I know, the update 2, and the problem they're describing, you know, was resolved with update 3. So instantly, you don't have to talk to them. You can just send a response back. Hey, we can fix this straight away. Download and install update 3, and that should resolve your problem. Give us a call back. So it's much better to start the ticket from within EPLAN, because we get that little bit extra information. And the ticket, we always have to create a ticket, whether you make a call or whether you send an email. It saves that step from us. So from our point of view, obviously it's good because it makes us more efficient, that we don't have to go through that process. And as I say, you will get a faster response. You know, sometimes we've got 2 or 3 guys that work on support, but if you call a hotline and they're all busy on phones helping someone else out, then you're not going to get response straight away. But they can be on a call talking to one customer and helping them out, but they can see the tickets coming up in the system. You know, and if it's a simple one, as I just said, they can actually respond to that while they're still dealing with someone else. So,
And is it because maybe they're talking to someone and that person is installing something, and you know how it works? That we've been on the phone with customer service before where they say, "Can I put you on a brief hold?" and they're working on something in the background, or if the person that has the software, if they're working on something like reinstalling, it might take a few minutes. So you do have that bandwidth to click over and look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's just a more efficient way, and we're all about efficiency. Is doing things.
Yes. So even more efficient with our support tickets.
Yes. I say, so, I should get that link that Paul split the video I made was covering sort of both creating a ticket manually through the EPLAN support center and also doing it direct with EPLAN. So I know Paul's got those up on the YouTube somewhere. So
hey, I know a guy that can help you out with that. I know a guy.
Okay.
I know a guy that can get that to you. I might even know the dude that put it on YouTube. So
that might be you. That might even be you. The other thing is, I mean, obviously, if you've got serious problems with EPLAN and it won't run, then obviously it's not an option to be able to do it, create the ticket from with EPLAN. So that's what the support center is there for. The other one thing I would say about the support center, do it that way, is you have access to the knowledge base. So if you before you could create a ticket, you can actually search to see if other people have had the same issue, and maybe you can. Yes, it's sort of self-help, but if you can get a fix within a couple of minutes of reading a page, or wait for half an hour for someone to call you back with the same fix, you know, it's again more efficient, better use of your time.
I didn't know if there was a double or a triple hotline. Like there's the hotline, and then there's like the a little bit hotter line, and then there's the extra hotline, and then there's the Diablo line, which is the one if
you're thinking of Chili Peppers, I think, aren't you?
Yeah. Guys, thanks for being on with me this week, and really sorry about the technical issues earlier. I literally just had to turn the video off and back on. I did what any IT person would tell me to do, and it worked great. Don't forget, on Tuesday, our best friend, our buddy, Sean Mulheron, is going to be introducing Platform 2023, which there's a lot of really exciting stuff that he's going to talk to us about. I know that, Ian, that you've been involved with 2023 already and seen some cool stuff there. I don't know if I want you to blow the cover, though.
No, I won't do that, but it's definitely that some of the things have been a long time coming, and the customers will sort of know what's coming. But some of the other utilities that it has, excellent. Just
And
big deal.
oh, by the way, somebody asked about the YouTube. I will send the YouTube to everyone. I'll send out that YouTube link whenever I do the email recap of this episode. That's going to have no video in the beginning of it, but I'll send out the link to the filling out the ticket in there. So that'll also be in the email that will go out probably at the beginning of the week is what I normally do. Also coming up next Friday is going to be another Open Line Friday. We have Derek that's going to be joining us along with Todd. So if you
Alright.
haven't subscribed, actually, Sergio, you and Derek were going to get together. You're buddies with Derek, right?
I am, yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
started out in the trainee program together.
So
You've
we,
been with EPLAN about the same amount of time, I think, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's maybe a couple months here and there, but yeah, all in all, we started out in the trainee program together and spent some time in Germany together while we were over there. And yeah, definitely worked together since we're both in the Schaumburg office quite a bit.
right.
Yeah.
Well, that link, you can find those both on eplanusa.com. You go in our events and in our webcasts, and you can subscribe, register for those webcasts that are coming up next week. Again, on Tuesday with Sean, and Open Line Fridays is every single Friday at noon. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and appreciate you guys for joining us and being on Open Line Friday.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.